What's the story, Morning Glory? What is up, Buttercup? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiance The Other Way, Season 5, Episode 8, Mistrust, She Wrote. So we have a brand new couple. We have a new couple alert. We have Shakina, 41, from LA, and we have Sarper, 43, from Istanbul. It took me a while to figure out what his name was because she was saying Sarper, but to me it sounded like Harper, but then it sounded like Sarper. So I had to go Google it online and figure out exactly what this man's name was, and his name is Sarper. So let's start off with Shakina first. So when we see Shakina, she lets us know that she's been living in LA for the past 13 years, and she does have that typical LA look. She has the lip injections, she has the cheek fillers, she has the breast augmentation surgery. She's, very thin, looks like she works out quite a bit, and she just has that very typical LA look. And she lets us know that she owns her own business. She's an esthetician, a licensed esthetician. She has her own business, and she's also an event planner. That's her side hustle. She plans events, and she wants us to believe that, she is right smack in the middle of the hottest parties, the hottest club events, the hottest whatever. She's right there in the middle of it all. So she also was raised Amish, and she thinks that, this is like a really interesting fact about her, which it is. She says she likes to shock people by letting them know that she was raised as Amish. Her parents were not born into the Amish community, but they liked it so much that they decided to join it. And her family were living as Amish, I think, until she was about 18 years old. She says that because she rebelled against it so much, her whole family decided to leave the Amish community. So she lets us know that she met Sarper when she was visiting Turkey, and they fell in love. They're very, very similar, these two people. He's extremely chiseled, cut, toned, muscled. He looks like he works out about 15 times a day. And when we see her, she's with her friends at her LA home, and she's talking about Sarper. And someone had mentioned how he's probably different from the typical guys that she dates, and she dates the typical good-looking muscleheads, and the kind of men that also are not very good partners. They cheat on her all the time, and they're very controlling. And so she talks about how someone mentions that, well, maybe Sarper is going to be different from all of that. But then one of her really good friends was like, no, Sarper is just as controlling as her past boyfriends. He tells her that she has to be a certain weight, which is 128 pounds. He wants her to change her makeup. He basically controls how she looks. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, right off the bat, this is a huge red flag. This is not a match made in heaven. This guy sounds horrible. A man that wants you to be at a certain weight. And so she excuses this or justifies this by saying that because she's looking to improve her physique, and she's going to him for advice on exercising and dieting. So he says to her that the ideal weight for her and her height would be 128 pounds. Okay, was that a suggestion, or did he actually tell you have to be like 128 pounds? I don't know, but to me it sounds like he probably does want her at a certain weight. So she's with her group of friends, and she's talking about her relationship with Sarper. None of them thinks that it's a really good idea because they don't really know each other that well. They've only been dating for like 5 months, and she's about to leave LA to go move to Turkey and be with this man. One of her male friends pulls her to the side and says that he believes, because of the connection that they have with one another, that Shakina should be with him and not Sarper. And she's like, oh, that's so sweet. We do have a really deep connection, but it's really more on a friend's level. I don't really see anything more than that. So she's got her heart set on being with Sarper. Plus, this friend that has declared his undying love to her, he really doesn't look like he's her type. Okay, he really does not look anything like Sarper. So he does not look like he's her type at all. So Sarper and Shakina both, to me, seem like the kind of people that are more interested in the aesthetics of a person than in anything really deeper than that. That's how they come across. They come across as, kind of shallow. That's my initial impression. Now, it might change as we get to know them better, but right now they both seem extremely shallow. And by the way, she has a child that she has sent off to boarding school. So we're going to hopefully learn more about that. Moving on from there, Let's talk about Danielle and Johan. I really, really, really wanted to give Danielle a pass this season. I was really hoping to like her a little bit better than I've ever liked her before, because I really don't like this character that she plays. And I say character because, the way these reality TV people, they like to make you think that, they're not that bad. They're not as bad as they're portrayed. And it's all about the editing. They're edited a certain way. And so they don't want to take accountability for the things that they say and the things that they do on these shows. So I don't know what's real and what's not real. So I'm just going to go ahead and call her a character, because I don't want to disparage her as a person, because I don't know her as a person. I only know what the show puts together and what they present to us. But this character that she plays, or this character that they present to us, I don't like it. I really tried, y'all. I was really trying to be more positive about Danielle, and it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So let me go ahead and get her all the way together. So her and Johan go see a fertility doctor. Johan really wants to have a child. I feel like Danielle, she's kind of like on the fence about it. And I think she's doing all of these doctor's appointments and stuff just to appease Johan, because he really does want to have a child. I don't think her heart is really into it. And so in her situation, because of her age and the quality of her eggs, they've decided to go the donor route. They're going to use a donor for the eggs. And as we're discussing this with the doctor, the cost is going to be $11,500. And she makes a remark about, well, it's going to be me that has to pay for it. That's something that bothers me about Danielle, is how she just automatically assumes, because Johan has met her, that all of a sudden he needs to turn into this 6-figure, 7-figure income making CEO corporate executive guy. This is a guy who is from a country that is mostly impoverished. He's from a country that depends very heavily on tourism. He's from a country where his family is living in poverty. And this is how you met him. When you met him, he had a job, he was working. And this thing that she has, where she expects Johan to contribute as much as she does or more, it's just, to me, I just don't understand why she puts this kind of pressure on this man. I don't want to get on my soapbox about what life is like in other countries compared to America, how the majority of the countries, I just don't even want to get into that. If you wanted a man who was going to contribute as much as you do or more, Danielle, this is a big, big world. I think there's 6-7 billion people on this planet. Okay, your options are still open. You can get that kind of man, but you can't get someone who's barely making it, who has a family of I don't know how many people that are depending on him, and get mad at him because he doesn't make as much as you do or more than you do. Miss Bankruptcy. So she says, well, I'm going to be the one paying for all of this. So I guess because she has to fit the bill for this infertility process, or for this fertility donor egg situation, because she's going to be having to pay for it. And I don't think her heart is really into having a child. She's sort of like showing her resentment towards Johan. Okay, so as we're leaving the fertility clinic, Danielle starts talking about how first she tells us that Johan only wants to have children because he just wants to play. She said this. He only wants to have children because he just wants to play. As in, he just wants some playmates. That's all he wants. That's the purpose of him wanting to have kids. He wants playmates to play with all day. And she tells him this. She tells him, you just want to have children because you just want to play. She completely diminishes, minimizes, disregards this man's desire to become a father. Can you imagine the uproar if a man were to tell a woman something like that, who really wanted to have a baby, and say to his wife, you just want to have a baby because you just want to have a little doll to play with, or you just want a playmate. That's the only reason why you want to have a child. Danielle is despicable. So she tells him, you just want to have a playmate. That's all. That's the only reason why you want to have a baby. And he just kind of laughed it off. And then she goes into how difficult it is to raise children. It's more than just feeding and clothing them and slapping a pamper on him. It's more than that. And then she starts talking about how she doesn't agree with how his family raises the children in that household. Johan has like 10 nieces and nephews or something, and she starts off by saying, so in your family, what time do the children go to sleep? And he says around 9 o'clock. And then she says, I have never, every time that I've been at your family's home, I have never seen those children in bed by 9 o'clock. They're up until 11, 12 o'clock at night. And she talks about how the way his family raises children, there's no schedule, there's no structure, and she doesn't want to have to raise her children like that. And Johan says in his confessional, just because we raise our kids differently than the way she does in America or the way they do in America, it doesn't mean that we raise them wrong. And let me tell you something else about how they raise children in Johan's household, because I don't know if it's a Dominican thing or just a Johan thing. I don't know how this is. But so I'm just going to leave it to Johan's family. Let me tell you something about how Johan's family raises their children. They raise them good enough, Danielle, for you to want to be with one of them, because Johan came from that family, that type of family. And he's good enough to be your husband. He's good enough for you to leave your bankrupted life in New York behind to come and marry him and commit your life to him. This is the same man that came from that household where the children go to bed at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. So he's good enough for you. You saw something in him that you fell head over heels in love with. We're not going to talk about specifically what it might be, but you want us to believe that you fell in love with his whole entire person, not just one element of his body, but you fell in love with his whole entire person. And if it's good enough for you, why can't it be good enough for your children? I don't understand. Was it so horrible coming from that household where the kids go to bed at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night? So she also says something about because she's his wife, he has to have the same values as her. Once again, she's being very bossy, very controlling. And she had told us in the beginning of the season that she has changed her ways, that watching herself on television, she realized how bossy she was and that she had toned it down. And I don't see that at all. So because she doesn't want to go through this process of having a child, whether it's because she can't afford it or because she really doesn't want to have a child, I don't know. She is going to, instead of being upfront and honest with him and telling him, I don't want to have any kids, I'm too damn old for all of that, or I can't afford that. I can't afford to pay $11,000 for a baby. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. Instead of being honest with him and just, dealing with whatever comes, she wants to manipulate him and talk him out of being a father and talk him out of wanting to have children. That's how despicable Danielle is. And I don't like her. I don't like her one bit. And I'm going to need Johan to really explain to me exactly what he sees in this woman. When they were talking about the whole donor egg situation, and they were talking about, what type of woman do you want these eggs to come from? Johan says that, yeah, he feels kind of bad that the child isn't going to have some of Danielle's physical attributes. I think he said her eyes and her nose. And Danielle said, well, she doesn't really care about what the woman looks like. What she really cares about is, her education. Is she educated? Does she go to Harvard? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So whatever. Good luck on all of that. Moving on to Mary and Brandon. So when we meet them where we left them last week. And last week they had left church. And remember, when they were in church, Mary was telling Brandon not to look at the other females in church. So when they left church, they had to have a conversation about it that lasted until the damn sun went down. So now they're, it's dark, it's nighttime, and they're still having a conversation. And he's trying to let her know, just because I look at another female doesn't mean I'm going to leave you, doesn't mean that I want them. You can't control me like this. It's just too much. And so Mary has this what do they call it? She had an emotional breakdown. She was crying. She was hyperventilating. She couldn't even breathe. One of the people from the production staff had to come and like help her calm down and help her with her breathing. This girl was about to pass out because because her boyfriend told her, you can't control where my eyes look. Just because I'm looking in the direction where a female may be sitting, it doesn't mean that I'm going to leave you for her. So Brandon thinks that he confronted her a little bit too harshly. No, you didn't. Brandon was really respectful. He has to be stern with her because she doesn't get it. So he has to talk with some type of authority in his voice because she doesn't understand that her behavior is unacceptable and it's encroaching on his damn freedoms. So Brandon talks about how Mary came into his life when he was at the lowest part. And so this is a reason why and I guess this is him justifying why he's in love with such a unstable person, why he can't let this unstable woman, he can't let her go, because when she came into his life, he was at a very low point. His mother was an addict. His girlfriend had cheated on him or something. So he was feeling very low about himself. He was feeling hopeless about everything. And then here comes Mary, and she gave him some attention, and he felt loved and wanted, and she made everything right in the world again. So this is the reason why he doesn't want to leave her. This is the reason why he fell in love with her. Okay, I don't know what Mary you met, but that Mary is kind of different from this Mary here, because this Mary that we're seeing, it seems like she's ruining your life. Okay, it seems like she is causing you a lot of turmoil, and I don't see her being this big ray of sunshine that you speak of, Brandon. So he says that he was feeling very low. He felt very much unwanted at that point when he met Mary, but her jealousy now makes him feel like he's not good enough and that he's not wanted or whatever. Her jealousy, brings back all of those insecurities in him. Mary's afraid that Brandon is going to leave her, and this whole relationship, it seems like it's based on fear. He met her on, it's not, maybe not even fear, it's just based on a lot of negative stuff. He met her when he was really, really low in his life, and so he feels obligated to be with her. She's afraid that he's going to leave her at any minute for some random chick. And so this relationship, they're hanging on to each other because they're so afraid of the outside world. They're so afraid. Mary's afraid of being alone. Brandon's afraid of, I'm not exactly sure what, but this is not a healthy relationship for him. So this relationship is just based on and built on like a lot of insecurities and negativity and fears. And so Mary tells him that she's sorry, and he's okay with that, but he really wanted her to say something about changing her ways and having more trust in him, because that's really what he wants. He wants her to be able to trust him so that he can live a normal life. So the next day, Mary feels a whole lot better. All that crying and hyperventilating completely knocked her out when they went back home. So she was knocked out. She went to bed. And so she woke up the next day, happy and, just ready to start her day. And she takes him to her old high school, and they have another opportunity to talk. He asks her, how do you feel? She goes, oh, I feel a whole lot better today. And, Brandon says that he really wants reassurance that she's going to be able to trust him more. So Mary said that she will definitely try harder to trust him, and Brandon feels a whole lot better about that. Mary needs therapy. She needs therapy so that she can understand she's enough, that she herself is enough. She doesn't need to be with someone else, and that she doesn't have to worry about people leaving her because she should be enough for herself. It's okay if Brandon breaks up with you and wants to run off with the girl who is sitting in the pew next to y'all in church. It's okay if he does that because you are still enough. You don't need someone else to make you whole. You don't need someone else to feel completed. And so this need for her to latch on to people and not let them go, and this fear of people leave, she needs therapy. Okay, she needs therapy. So if she doesn't get the therapy that she needs, this is going to be an ongoing issue. This insecurity, the jealousy, the trust issues, all of this is going to be an ongoing issue for this couple. But neither one of them can see it. They make these little stupid promises to one another, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, everything is better now. She says she's going to trust me more. Everything is better. Yeah, until your eyes start wandering, and then she's going to, pluck them right out of your face and keep them in her pocket. Moving on to Wayne and Holly. So the last time we saw Wayne and Holly, they got into this disagreement about his finances. She's upset that he was hiding the fact that he put $40,000 in crypto, and that's why they can't go on their damn honeymoon. And he didn't tell her about this. So her issue is he's not upfront with me with his finances, so I don't know what I'm working with. So she runs out of the office because I think they're at his place of business or something. She runs out of the building. She just starts running around and wandering through the streets of South Africa aimlessly. And Wayne, he's in the office and he's crying because he felt like he lost his fiance or whatever the situation is. So he's so upset and emotional. He gets in his car and he just bolts it right out of there. And she was somewhere in the streets. He didn't even see her. He just like drove right past her. And she was like, how can he leave me? If he cares so much about my safety, how can he leave me just stranded over here knowing that I don't know how to get back home? But girl, you left. You ran away. You ran like you knew where you were going because you were running with intention. So he finally comes back and he gets her. And when he shows up again, she runs to him and she runs into his arms and lays her head on his chest. And, she's like this little child who was lost in the mall and finally found their mom again. So he is holding her, and in his confessional, he talks about how Holly had said that she will not be with a man that cannot financially support her. So Wayne is all kinds of stressed out, trying to figure out how is he going to take care of them, make a home for them, give her the things that she wants, do the things that she's expecting him to do. He's absolutely stressed out about that. Wayne isn't a bad looking guy. It's just the vampire teeth. And it's also, the stress that he's under. He seems like has a lot on his shoulder, dealing with Holly and all the things that she's expecting from him. So I hope they get to work it out. So that is my review of 90 Day Fiance The Other Way. It was a cute little episode. I love the fact that this show is only 1 hour. I'm like, praise the gods of TLC for making this show only 1 hour. I absolutely adore it. I love it. Thank you so much for joining me. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.